Deidara is one of the coolest Akatsuki members, a fan of art and a ninja of charismatic personality. But how strong is he? Deidara is a user of Bakuton, the explosion style, which is a combination of earth and lightning styles. Deidara uses his explosion style by infusing it on his clay creations, which are created in the several mouths he has around his body. His creations are very versatile. They can fly and move independently, pursuing the target at will. They can also stick to the target to make sure they'll explode and hit them very hard. He also has a lot of variety in his explosive arsenal, having creations that can work in many different situations. He's primarily a long-ranged fighter, but he can also cope with melee attacks. Also, he has one extreme advantage a lot of people don't really acknowledge. He can fly. Being able to fly in a world where 98% of people cannot fly, it's just a huge advantage, especially for someone like Deidara, who is a long-range fighter and can just toss long-range attacks on people who are just stuck on the ground. This would be even worse if the enemy doesn't have long-ranged attacks to affect Deidara from afar. They would just be sitting ducks. It is no coincidence that every single major fight Deidara is in is against an opponent that can also fly. Otherwise, he would absolutely bombard anyone who can't, and the fight would just be a stomp. It's also important to like this video and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy content like this. Now let's take a look at Deidara's feats. The first big fight he's in is against Gaara, who is a Kage level opponent. Deidara beats Gaara without too much trouble, to be honest. He does it in about 2 chapters in the manga. Now, you may argue Gaara was at a disadvantage because he had to protect the Sand Village while fighting Deidara, but Deidara also had restrictions in that fight. For one, he couldn't kill Gaara, so he had to be careful about which types of explosion he used directly to attack Gaara. Also, Deidara himself admitted he should have brought more clay to the fight and was essentially rationing his clay supply, which is a big limitation for him that uses clay for every single ninjutsu attack. All things considered, the fight was actually pretty fair and Gaara was taken out very easily. We also see that Deidara's flying speed on top of his birds is actually pretty fast, as he was able to constantly dodge Gaara's massive sand attacks. Sure, he did lose an arm in the fight, but that was totally on purpose so that he could get a jump on Gaara. And this is also an important thing to consider. Even though Deidara is loud and flamboyant, he is a pretty tactical fighter. Beating Gaara, a Kage Jinchuriki easily puts Gaara in mid-Kage level. Also, the C3 bomb he uses to attack the Sand Village has an explosive power comparable, if not higher, than a Bijudama, which is extremely impressive. Deidara is just a beast in terms of raw damage. After that, he has a brief encounter with the Leaf Shinobi. He gets his last arm kamoied away by Kakashi, which is no anti-feat, seeing that kamui is one of the most broken jutsus in the anime, and is able to fake his death in order to escape, once again proving he is pretty intelligent. Not only that, but while he faked his death with an explosion, he forced Kakashi to use kamui to counter that same explosion, or Team Kakashi and Team Guy would be in a world of trouble. It's safe to say that by that feat alone, Deidara's explosion attacks are very fast and difficult to dodge, forcing Kakashi to use his most powerful jutsu. And Deidara did all that while being extremely fatigued from fighting Gaara, sealing Shukaku for 3 days straight, and losing 2 arms. All this with no resting at all. This speaks volumes about Deidara's durability and chakra reserves. Sure, he doesn't have as much chakra as Akatsuki members like Nagato or Kisame, but he has a respectable stamina and chakra. His next fight is against the Three Tails, and he does it without much difficulty. And sure, Toby probably helped him during that fight, but defeating Bijus is what the Akatsuki members are meant to do, so there's no surprise there. I'm pretty sure Deidara can dish out explosions far more powerful than the Three Tails Bijudama anyway. Then comes his most prominent fight, Deidara vs Sasuke. Let me preface this by saying that this is one of the best fights in the series. If you haven't watched it or read it in a while, I recommend you to do so one day. When the fight begins, we already see that that Deidara may be primarily a long-range fighter, but he can also deal very well with melee attacks. He's fast enough to react and dodge Sasuke's initial sword attack after all. Heavy Sasuke, by the way, was probably the third fastest character we had ever seen in the series by that point, only behind Itachi and Minato, being able to absolutely blitz Team Yamato, including Yamato himself, an experienced Anbu Jonin. Yamato even said that he couldn't follow Sasuke's moves with his eyes, but Deidara could react and counter Sasuke's speed pretty well. Deidara was able to quickly toss an explosive towards Sasuke when he tried to attack Deidara from behind. That explosion happened at point-blank range from Deidara himself, and he was able to avoid it with sheer speed. Now, I'm not saying Deidara is faster than Heavy Sasuke, but his speed should not be understated. Deidara then uses his massive clay dragon that can spit several charges of powerful explosives, and that combined with the landmines can be absolutely devastating as a combo. Obviously, Toby was the one to implant the mines there, but if Deidara is able to prepare the battlefield beforehand, that could be an extremely useful tactic during a battle. Flying up there and shooting bombs, forcing the target to dodge, to then stab on landmines is just nasty and very hard to counter. Now let's discuss Deidara's scariest ability, C4 Karura. This jutsu is absolutely terrifying, being able to inject any enemy in a massive range with nano explosives that will disintegrate your body. It's just broken. First, because you can't see the attack coming at all because the explosives are so small, and secondly because it doesn't matter how durable you are, this attack ignores durability. Unless you think characters have durability on their vital organs, veins, and soft tissue, even people like Hashirama would probably have no answer if they breathed in the nano explosives. The only alternative is to avoid the attack entirely or be destroyed. And as I said, it's very hard to avoid this attack because you just can't see it coming unless you can see chakra. And of course, there is a way to disarm the explosives by using lightning style as well, which takes me to my next point. Why Deidara actually lost to Sasuke? Simply put, Sasuke was literally the worst opponent on the freaking planet for Deidara to face. Sasuke had a counter to every single jutsu Deidara had, and the fight was still extremely difficult. Firstly, he could nullify the explosives using lightning style. Now, Sasuke having that was very lucky, but figuring it out was no easy task either. Sasuke had to make this very elaborate plan to find out if lightning style could actually work against the explosives. And not everybody could do that, even people that have lightning style. This plan only worked because Sasuke has the Sharingan and can see through chakra, which is also another very important factor as to why Sasuke won the fight. If he couldn't see chakra, he wouldn't be able to see the landmines or the nano explosives, which would just kill him. Sasuke's genjutsu also helped him a lot. Now, I am positive that Deidara's eye, which he trained to counter ocular genjutsu, would work properly against anyone except for Sasuke and Itachi. Unfortunately, their talent was too much for Deidara to compensate through sheer training, but still, this is another thing that counts for Deidara's overall strength. He has a decent proficiency at countering genjutsu, something many powerful ninjas lack. And then, of course, we have Deidara's grand finale, C0, his ultimate masterpiece. Sure, he has to die to perform that attack, but that was the most powerful jutsu in terms of raw kinetic power in the entire series, up until Madara tossed 2 meteors on the Shinobi Alliance, and maybe Deidara's was even stronger than that anyway. That explosion was comparable to a 10-tailed Bijudama blast. It's far more powerful than Pain's catastrophic Shinra Tensei and any Bijudama that isn't from the 10 tails. Sasuke is only able to escape because he has the exact counter against the explosion. He can summon Manda, put him under genjutsu, and then use reverse summoning to run away, but otherwise he would be dead. And that Sasuke is easily mid to high Kage level, and when the fight ended, even with him having every single counter to Deidara, he was extremely fatigued. This fight puts Deidara easily on that same mid to high Kage level, especially with his two most powerful jutsus, C4 and C0, especially C0. And C4, it's just mind-boggling how powerful this jutsu is, and how many characters in the series would just be Thanos snapped out of existence if Deidara threw that against them. If you can't see chakra and don't have lightning style, you're dead. And it's not a lot of people that have access to those two things simultaneously. Also, even if you have those two things, figuring out lightning counters the explosions is not a guarantee. When Deidara comes back in the war arc, he keeps up with Inoki, the strongest Kage at that point, and had some brief altercations with some other ninjas of the Alliance. However, for whatever reason, Kabuto didn't supply him with a lot of clay. Seriously, Kabuto misused Deidara really badly in the war arc. He could have just thrown Deidara in the middle of an entire division and make him use either C4 or C0 continuously, saying that the Edo Tensei bodies regenerate, he wouldn't have to worry about getting caught on his own explosions. Then you just have to use a couple of strong Edo Tensei to guard Deidara's body while he's prepping those two powerful jutsus, and it's GG. You obliterate the entire Ninja Alliance in a couple of hours, but instead he sends Deidara to fight the Advanced Squad. He literally puts an undead, regenerating Deidara into a situation where he'll only be able to affect about 10 people with his explosions instead of 10,000, but I digress. Kabuto's lack of tactical sense doesn't take away from Deidara's strength. All in all, I think Deidara can put up a good fight against practically anyone in the series. His jutsu arsenal is vast and extremely potent. I would easily put him in mid to high Kage level and rank him within the upper half of the Akatsuki in terms of strength. Subscribe for more content like this and ring the notification bell. Also, like the video and watch this video showing up on screen. I know you'll like it. Thanks for watching.